Oh my God, did no one look at me, Cody Ko. Delete the videos. I can say that. I was literally 17. I can say that. What? Sorry.
Cody Ko.
Cody Ko. Chody.
Cody Ko is a YouTuber with over 6 million subscribers.
One of the largest commentary creators on YouTube, knowingly committed a crime.
I was at a playlist live and they were like trying to hook up with me. I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25.
Flew to Orlando for Playlist Live.
Hi, I'm Tana. I'm just here at Playlist Live. I'm having a great time.
Oh my God.
Well, you're joking.
No, that wasn't joking.
Don't ever do this to me again.
He hasn't said anything. He hasn't acknowledged it.
This isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
Picture this. It's a Friday night and you're ordering a drink at a trendy bar in downtown Orlando. The place is packed thanks to a creator event that's happening, and you're running into a lot of familiar faces. Some of them are your personal friends, but a lot of them are people you recognize from their online videos. And you're getting recognized too, so good times all around with good people. But in the corner, you spot one creator in particular chatting up a young blonde girl. She's newer on the scene, but quickly rising to the top, and she's not even 18 years old, even though she's surrounded by much older adults all fawning over her. And the main guy she's talking to, well, he's 25 and an even bigger online creator. You've talked with him before, so once their conversation kind of breaks up, you pull him aside to mention that the girl he's flirting with is only 17, and maybe it's best he doesn't take the flirty conversation any further. He assures you that it's all good, so crisis averted, right? Until you see out of the corner of your eye in the darkened bar that not only did he go back to the girl, but it looks like she's leaving with him. So you wonder, like, should I stop him? Should I run after him? But the moment has passed, she's probably fine, and he wouldn't do anything like that. And they've already disappeared into the night, and so you carry on with yours, never expecting what might happen next. And this is what we know. Oh, hi there. Hello, hi. It's my face again. Swoop! Oh, guess who's back? Me. Hi! I have missed you all. It feels so good to be back. As many of you know, I took some time off after being physically assaulted, and I just kind of needed some time to heal physically and, you know, yeah. So just thank you again with all of my heart for your incredibly kind messages. I appreciate you all so very much. We really just have the most amazing community here. So as I was slowly starting to re-enter the internet over the last bit, I just like, holy bits. I feel like I stepped into the total abyss. I was just like, what the hell is going on? Cody Ko, Dr. Disrespect, Ava Tyson. Really? I gotta say this, like, I don't know if it's what I just lived through or what's going on, but I kind of feel like a new era of Swoop is upon us, honey, okay? She is processing a lot. And like, I don't know if this makes sense, and we're not gonna dwell on it, but like, at first, after what happened, I went through these stages, right? Like, at first, I was injured, so it was really scary, and then I was just racked with anxiety, and then I got really depressed and lost a lot of weight, and now I feel a little angry. Like I'm pissed and I'm petty as hell. But I thought, you know what? Like, I can work with anger. Like, can any of you relate out there? I don't know. This is like so like, as life has just been lifing all over the place, I kind of feel like maybe I've entered my clapback era. So I might not be as polite with some folks anymore. So I don't know. Hide the assholes. New Swoop is here. Sorry, coping mechanism. I gotta make a joke. Now, if you're seeing me for the first time, I'm sorry, this is not my normal intro, but welcome. I'm a documentary filmmaker and commentary creator, and I make swoop docs on unsolved cases, true crime, and social media influencers who abuse their power and manipulate audiences because, as I always say, it's not drama, it's dangerous. We also dig deeper into the root psychology, perspectives, play devil's advocate, and sometimes we take it to petty university because, as you could probably tell, petty is my coping mechanism. If you want to join the Petty University community, all are welcome, and connect with me on Instagram and Twitter for a chance to be featured in upcoming Swoop docs, life updates, all of that. And of course, you can grab your very own apparel pieces from the Valid Ribcage and Valid Social Club collections like I'm wearing here. They're all in the Petty University shop, linked below as always. They actually might not be here much longer, I don't know. We are getting ready to release the new line of apparel that I've been working on forever, so just a heads up with that. Okay, real quick before we dive in, can you hear me okay? How are you feeling? Is anyone else feeling like you're running out of steam? Well, you know what never runs out of steam? The freaking battery life on my Raycon Everyday earbuds. Hey! So thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. They've been a huge supporter of the channel. So if y'all have been with me for a while, you know that I am a huge fan of Raycon. I have been wearing my everyday earbuds literally for years, and I don't know what I would do without them. Like, I wear my Raycons everywhere, all the time, editing, working out, going on walks, running errands, taking calls, cleaning the house, literally everywhere. And I feel like I almost never have to charge the battery. It doesn't make any sense. They have a massive 32-hour battery life. And if you're ever in a pinch, there's a new quick charge function where just 10 minutes of charge gives you 90 minutes of battery. Who do they think they are? And y'all, even better yet, I am so freaking excited about this. Raycon's everyday earbuds now feature active ergonomic design, multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once, which is literally a game changer. Like, I can hop from my phone to my computer or like a tablet instantly. I don't have to like unpair and then pair and like all of that mess. And drum roll, they now have active noise cancellation. The difference, the sound quality, it is magical. I'm not kidding. Not only are these earbuds hands down the most comfortable I've ever worn, and they never fall out, like ever, which is why I'm never letting go of these. And they also just came out with the most beautiful new colors. I am so obsessed. This lavender is like everything to me. They officially have everything that I need in my earbuds. Seriously, if you want the most incredible noise canceling earbuds with the best sound and battery life, get yourself some Raycons and click the link in the description box below, or go to buyraycon.com/swoop to get 20 to 40% off your Raycon purchase plus free shipping. That's such a great deal. I want to thank all of you who continuously check out the sponsors and for checking out Raycon, which is a great way to support this channel and get something incredible for yourself. So click the link in the description box below or go to buyraycon.com/swoop to get 20 to 40% off your whole Raycon purchase plus free shipping, and treat yourself, honey. You deserve it. Okay, back to the doc. Okay, we're ready to dive in, and just as heads up, while this is a heavy topic, there will be no graphic discussions to, make sure we adhere to the platform's policies and to try to keep this digestible for all of you watching. We have a lot to cover with this Cody Ko, Tana Mongeau story, and I know many creators have covered this, as well, of course, as D'Angelo Wallace's very stellar piece, which will be linked along with some other creators, but there are some truly disturbing twists to the story on top of everything else that I haven't really seen covered as much. So instead of, just exclusively rehashing the timeline, we're gonna dig into some other aspects as well. Part of the focus today will be on the very harmful idea that the perfect victim exists. We don't. And from what I've learned from just my own experiences and covering these stories, the myth of the perfect victim can also create the idea of the perfect crime, the perfect witness, and the perfect response. So we'll unpack all of that. I won't be covering the Colby Leachman situation today to keep the focus more on Tana, and if any of you have experienced harm and are in need of some immediate free support, there are resources available and linked below. Please be safe. Okay, let's dive in.
And that made me want to vomit.
Which?
R. Kelly being 31 and charming up 17-year-old girls. That's weird as fuck. And the music producer took the words out of my mouth. He's like, you can just tell when you just know it. It doesn't matter how much makeup they had, you just know it. I'm like, yeah, you do. There's an innocence about being 17.
This story starts with Cody Michael Kolojeshizek, better known as Cody Ko, a 34-year-old Canadian influencer and self-professed actor / comedian / YouTuber / podcaster / SoundCloud rapper / internet bad boy. Seriously, that's literally the bio on his YouTube channel, which is more or less Cody's main shtick. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I never watched a full Cody Ko video, apart from when I was researching my doc about Girl Defined, and I don't know, we may have pulled an asset from his channel here and there over other docs, but I've just kind of never been in his world. But his main channel has over 6 million subscribers, and that's just one of his 5 channels. But before he was Cody Ko, the YouTuber and bad boy, love that, he was Cody Ko, the frat boy. There he is, folks, frat Cody, Frody, if you will. And this isn't just me dunking on Cody or fraternities, although I could do an entire swoop doc on fraternity behavior. That's a lot. I don't know if I want to go down that. Sounds miserable. But also, Cody literally referred to himself as, quote, a shithead frat boy in an interview with his college newspaper, in which he also admits to trashing a vacation rental house with his frat boys and also talks about his rap career. We're using that word very loosely today. He was also on the swimming and diving team at Duke University. So the question, how did he rise to YouTube fame? And why was the college paper even interviewing him anyways? Well, back in 2012, a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed Frody graduated from Duke University with a degree in computer science and an app idea. Cody created an app called I'd Cap That. Yeah, you might start to notice the nauseatingly consistent frat boy, make everything suck theme, but his app basically added captions to images to create memes.
And I'd Cap That basically automatically adds a caption to anyone's photos. Yeah. Are you funny? Did you create them yourself?
I'm pretty funny. I don't know. Hard to answer that question, but
you created all the captions yourself?
Yeah, I had help from like a couple friends at the very beginning. Like we kind of just like sat around and drank some beers and came up with captions, sort of thing.
He's 21, just FYI.
Yeah, exactly. It was legal. Yeah, and then so my friends helped me out, but I came up with most of them.
This was somehow groundbreaking at the time. I'm pretty sure meme generators existed back then, but I digress.
So, captioning photos is not a new idea. It's been around for a long time.
And a sidebar really quick, I gotta, it's funny how when girls make sexual jokes or themed content, they're, what is it that they're usually called? Oh yeah, filthy whores. But when guys do it, it's cute and so funny.
Damn, girl. Are you a bird feeder? Because I'm in the mood to spread some seed, you feel me? What's that? What are you doing?
And this is just a taste of the highly sophisticated brand of humor we can come to expect from Cody Ko. But it was 2012, standards were, they were in the gutter, and the app gained 4 million users within the first 4 months, and a lot of money was to be had. If they were running the business smart.
So how successful was this app? Or has it been?
So it's been really successful. So basically, the viral nature of the content just allowed the app to take off, and within a couple weeks, when it first was in the App Store, it was growing pretty slowly. All my friends downloaded it and they were showing to their friends, sort of thing. It was growing moderately for a little bit, and then all of a sudden one day it just started doubling every single day, thousands of downloads every day.
What happened? What was that turning point?
I integrated Twitter initially because it was really, really frictionless with iOS 5. It was super easy to tweet from in the app, right? I think that's what had a really large effect on the virality.
It's clear that he understood the nature of virality and how to capitalize on an internet following, even in the early days. This little bit of notoriety landed him a stint working for tech companies in Silicon Valley, but in 2013, Cody left his job and took a backpacking trip through Asia with his friend Devin Townsend, who went on to found the app Cameo, by the way. So yeah, that's an accomplishment. And that year, there was another app gaining momentum that would birth the first generation of mobile content creators of sorts, the short form. You know what I'm talking about. It's Bynes, until they died a deadly death. Cody and Devin began posting Vines about their experiences while traveling and occasionally, trying to be funny. But a lot of times, it was just kind of offensive, especially if you're looking at it now. Now, Cody gained an initial following through these travel videos and quickly branched out into making more general sketch comedy style content.
I think you got some new dog on there.
What? What's new dog?
Well, my wife left me.
What?
Are you going to Coachella? Oh, no. Oh. Let's get out of here. Babe, I've been cheating on you.
Oh, thank God. I hate you. I've been waiting to break up with you.
I was kidding.
And me too.
You know what comes next, friends? A tale as old as time. Cody Ko became one of the many to follow the Viner to YouTuber pipeline, and in May of 2014, he uploaded his first video.
So, I asked some of you to ask me some questions, so I'm gonna answer them. Oh, there's no lame-ass music in the background, I don't do that. This one says, your vines blow. Okay.
In the beginning, his channel included things like vlogs, story times, Q&As, like all, the kind of standard 2014 era YouTube material. By 2015, Cody was traveling to speak at online creator events, including VidCon and Playlist Live, which will become an important part of the story later. But since then, Cody's notoriety has only grown massively. He's collaborated with a ton of other online personalities and comedians, including Drew Gooden, Emma Chamberlain, and Joshua Weissman. He's even been featured on corporate channels like The Cut, Jubilee Media, and Delish. And it was in 2018 that Cody founded the TMG podcast, which is let me slip myself into my frat boy persona, Tiny Meat Gang podcast. More of that boys will be boys humor. He did this alongside his friend Noel Miller, another Canadian YouTuber and comedian. And today, the TMG podcast channel has over 1.2 million subscribers. They've been on tour across the US, and Cody has since founded TMG Studios, a podcast network that is home to 9 different shows, or maybe fewer. You'll find out at the end of this. We also can't forget about Cody's illustrious acting career. I'm sure all of you have seen the classic series, The Real Bros of Simi Valley. No, you haven't seen. Good for you, honestly. But if you haven't seen it, Cody plays a frat bro type character named Wade. I know, shocking. Now let's review. So podcaster, check. Actor, check. YouTuber, check. SoundCloud rapper, check, I guess. Sure. But he has since transitioned his rap career into a stint as a DJ and now has a residency in Las Vegas. Oh, shittle bits. I'm getting ahead of myself. So sorry. The thing is, Cody Ko isn't just popular. He's massively successful and incredibly wealthy and very well known. And with that fame and money comes a lot of power. And he wore the mask well. His brand as a YouTube commentary creator was considered progressive and lighthearted. But once you dig into his past, the pieces start to tell a different story. Cody probably thought that any scandals were far, far, far behind him. But all it took was one person to speak up, albeit many times, about Cody's past to make his fans reevaluate who he really might be. And that person is Tana Mongeau.
I know this sounds stupid and it's like I'm some big YouTuber and you honestly probably think that your opinion, your sole opinion doesn't matter to me. But when I'm at just a complete loss at a situation, the people I want to come to is you guys, because you guys are my best friends, you guys are my family.
Honestly, Tana Mongeau doesn't need an introduction from me at all, but I will give a quick one. Tana is an American influencer who came to fame on YouTube and has over 5.3 million subscribers, which it's almost kind of shocking that it's not way, way, way more given what a household name she is in the influencer world. Now, she's long since branched out from YouTube and her social stats are staggering with over 6 million Instagram followers, 8.5 on TikTok, and 2.5 on Twitter. She's basically impossible to miss when you're scrolling through your feed. Not to mention her chart-topping podcast called Canceled. The woman is literally everywhere and has been for a while, and she's still quite young.
Cancel. Don't remember doing this at all. I can only hold myself accountable. Cancel. I object! Look how good my life is.
So what else? Cancel me.
So since joining YouTube in 2015, Tana has collabed with James Charles, Jeffree Star, Nikita Dragon, Shane Dawson, and countless others. The usually totally non-problematic highlight reel from the past. So things have shifted for her in recent years. She's grown quite a bit. But back in the early days of her YouTube channel, Tana became known for her wild storytime videos about her life growing up on the outskirts of Las Vegas, her boisterous personality, and often strong SUL storytime themes, some of which involved a toothbrush, but also about the rough childhood she endured to the point where she's no longer on speaking terms with her biological parents. Tana has talked quite openly about some of the challenges she went through growing up in an unstable environment with her parents, who she describes as abusive, which is very sad to hear.
Where I lived the last like 5 years before growing up was just kind of like a ghettoer, cheaper area of like Henderson, Nevada, in this little like duplex with like my parents, and it was a 2-bedroom, and my parents wouldn't sleep in the same bed, so either my mom or my dad would like sleep on the couch every night, or I would sleep on the couch, and it was dirty and just ghetto, and like he still lives there. Like going there is just, that's a whole nother video within itself. But a lot of our neighbors were very like ghetto neighbors that would move in and out, like drug dealers, like all that kind of stuff.
My parents never like instilled anything that parents instill in you, like structure, responsibility, or schedule. I dropped out of high school at 15 because I couldn't even like go to school on time. Like so many of the mistakes I feel like I made in the beginning of my career were from lack of so many things like I needed, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like now I'm finally like hiring life coaches and learning that and like getting therapy and fixing. So if anything,
There was no obedience growing up?
No, I was rebelling against my parents like my entire life for sure. Because I don't really ever remember getting along with my family. Maybe I was like at like it's like 7 or 8 we got along type.
I don't really know how much of Tana's childhood is known by the, the average viewer, but this is really sad, and I think goes a long way to understanding more of the nuance and perspective around who she is and was from when she started gaining fame until now.
Hi, today's video is going to be the hardest video I've ever had to film.
As a kid, Tana had already been crashing with friends on and off by the time she was 14, but once she turned 15, she moved out of the house entirely and had essentially to fend for herself, which is heartbreaking when it is for anyone, and it takes a toll on one's mental development, but to be fair, also shows a lot of perseverance, I think. She talks about how she had trouble getting to school and even getting money to feed herself, which exposed Tana to a lot of vulnerable situations from a young age. Couple that with her meteoric rise on YouTube as a teen, which is a lot, and our understanding of the negative ramifications that can have on young child stars, and I think it's safe to say it was a recipe for industry exploitation and also hyper-sexualization. And her parents sort of seem to be okay with this.
You're a bitch. I'm sorry I'm rich and you're not.
Who is that?
They're watching the music video for Tana's song Hefner, as in Hugh Hefner, as in Playboy. And now I want to emphasize that this is not meant to shade Tana, but instead kind of peel back some of those layers that may have continually put her in harm's way and led to this sexualized persona, because this reputation was continually reinforced by her YouTube followers and the positive response she would get from these kinds of videos. Even when she was underage, like people online and in the industry didn't just crave this from her, they expected it, celebrated it, and at times demanded it. Now listen, I know full well from my experience as a musician that navigating the entertainment industry is challenging for an adult, never mind a 15-year-old girl. In my opinion, based on what Tana has shared, her parents' significant lack of care possibly forced her to grow up quickly, even though she was only a kid who couldn't be, really expected to always make the best decisions for herself.
So high that I can't build a car. Movies and high that it's a movie, but anyways.
Guys, Helen would drive better.
And if that wasn't enough, while Tana was speaking out about the abuse she allegedly endured, her parents turned around and sued her for slander, their own daughter.
Like there was abuse.
Absolutely.
It sounds like it was a really traumatic.
Absolutely.
But
and
so
I've said that before, and then I've been in court having to almost pay millions of dollars for slander.
Really?
You can slander your parents?
Apparently.
Like what damage are you gonna do to them?
Yeah,
So are you going through litigation right now with your parents?
This was
it's over.
This was like 2-3 years ago, probably.
And did you guys settle?
Yeah.
Now when I watched that, like Tana has always been outspoken. Like she's clearly unsettled by all of this, which, I mean, who the wouldn't be? I mean, imagine the absolute crushing betrayal that this must have felt like to have your own parents using legal tactics to silence you until you have to pay up. Anyways, it's important to note that when Tana started her channel in 2015, she was just 16 years old, and based on her stories, she had experienced more wild and intense scenarios at her age than most people do in their entire lives. Like for example, in one of her more infamous video series, Tana reveals that she had a stalker since she was just 8 years old.
In elementary school, or at my elementary school at least, the teacher on the first day of school would give you a list of
all of the home phone numbers of every family in your classroom. And you would go home and give it to your parents so that they had the contacts of every parent in case they needed it. And everyone took them home to their parents like normal, except for this one kid. Hint, he's my stalker. I started getting phone calls to my house every day, and it would be this little boy, and obviously I'm not gonna say his name because I wanna live until I'm like, you know, old. So it'd be this boy, and he would call my house phone, and my parents would pick up because I was like a child, you know? So they'd be like, hello, and then he'd be like, hey, can I talk to Tana? Like, it's about the homework. And then I'd answer, and he'd be like, I love you, I love you, I love you, Tana, I love you. And I'd be like, boys have cooties, bye, like, nah, you know? Yeah, okay, you know. And he wouldn't stop calling.
Imagine handling that at just 8 years old and also not potentially having the support of adults in your life to take it seriously. The stalker saga has actually been going on for years, with Tana providing occasional video updates on her channel, which is fucking wild if you like really think about it.
I started getting all of these anonymous messages on Tumblr, and the first message was my address, but they like made a riddle out of it, and the answer to the riddle was like my address, and I was like, what the f? So I was with friends when I got that, so I called my dad, and I was like, and while I'm on the phone with my dad, I get a message that is my dad's full name, like first, middle, and last name, and I was like, this is so sketch, like what the f? And so I stay on the phone with him, and I'm like, you know what, I think I'm gonna go visit my grandma, and I'm not gonna say where she lives, but she lives in another state, and I was gonna go visit her to get out of town for a little bit and like lay low so I didn't die because my stalker was really sketching me out. And after I said that on the phone, my stalker or whoever sends me a message on Tumblr that was my grandma's home phone number in like 3 messages. So I filed the police report, and then the police get involved, and it was my stalker from 2nd grade. Are you in shock? Because me too, I was so shocked. And so he got arrested, and he is now in jail, ha 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 ha. So I got my stalker arrested. I know, I'm a great person.
Now, I'm not gonna dwell much on this today, but yes, Tana herself has a legitimately problematic past that I've even touched upon in a video a long time ago. And she wouldn't argue that. She has openly said that she understands that she has had problematic past, that she's controversial, that people had rightfully called for accountability from various things from her. And I mean, she even talks about how she has difficulty getting people on her podcast now because of these things. So this isn't some like scandalous thing that I'm saying.
First and foremost, I want to apologize for how long this video has taken. There is no excuse, reason, or thing I could say to make that okay, and I want to take full accountability for that. Over the past few months, I've seen the explosive effects of what running from your problems can do and how many people you can hurt by doing that.
But the reason I'm bringing this up briefly is because it's an important factor in the concept of the perfect victim narrative that has plagued this story, which we're gonna dig into. But I do wanna highlight off the top that the experiences we have as kids very clearly shape our development as we get older, and I think you'll see this a lot in Tana's story. We know that people can change. I have to hope that people can change. And I do believe it's important to give people the space to grow and unlearn harmful behaviors if they genuinely seek to do so, especially if some of those behaviors were when they were kids, you know? So I won't be taking a stance today on the controversies of Tana's past because I don't want that to potentially overshadow the focus here of what was done to her. Kind of in a similar way that I took no position on Trisha's past when we covered the Colleen Ballinger story and the fact that Trisha was clearly victimized by Colleen Ballinger and John Thomas, because again, 2 things can be true at once. Someone can have a past and they can also be a victim of terrible things. By 2016, Tana had reached 2 million subscribers on YouTube, and along with that success came public appearances where she began traveling to various online creator events, and it was in April of 2016 that she attended Playlist Live Orlando, which, if you remember from earlier, are a SoundCloud rapper bad boy Frody, I mean Cody, was also invited to attend, as well as our perfect witness, Gabbie Hanna, which, holy shit, we'll be getting to that twisted mess in a bit. So let's recap. Cody Ko, former Vine star turned commentary YouTuber with the frat Oi Pride, Tana Mongeau, influencer, YouTuber, and podcaster with a difficult childhood, a history of being forced to grow up too soon, who is processing a lot of trauma in real time for the world to see. And like many podcasts with a large following, if you fast forward, Tana and Brooke have taken their show on the road and announced the canceled cross-country tour. This was their opportunity to meet the fans and share, quote, everything we'd normally cut out of the podcast. So guaranteed there would be some tea a-spilling, and if the people are thirsty, you give them a sip. So the canceled tour specified that filming was not allowed during the show, trying to ensure that they could protect any reveals from Tana and Brooke during these shows, but I don't think anyone could have predicted just how intense things were about to get. On May 30th, Tana and Brooke stopped on another leg of the tour at the Crest Theater in Sacramento, California. A portion of the show includes something that they call the hot seat, where they allow fans to come up and ask Tana rapid fire questions that can be extremely scandalous.
Least favorite city I've been to on tour? New Orleans, Louisiana. I hate that place. Who's the most famous person you've ever had sex with? Oh my God, like maybe Tyga. Least favorite brand I've ever worked with. One time, we sold out for an apartment in New York. Like the rent was paid on the apartment in New York for a Juul charger that charges your Juul from your phone. Like that sounds brilliant. No, it was definitely breaking iPhones everywhere, and I shouldn't have done it. Who's the smallest dick you've ever had sex? Oh my God, no one look at me, Cody Ko.
Wait a minute. Did you catch that?
I can say that. I was literally 17. I can say that.
17. And Cody was how old? Okay, let me just do the math for you. 25. He was 25. Now, she doesn't say it during the live event, but the video quickly picked up steam online and viewers started doing the math. And I want to reiterate that although Tana chose to share these comments during the canceled live event, I don't necessarily think that she expected it to spread so far beyond that room at the time. Like, you can hear other people saying to, delete their videos of the hot seat portion. So there were videos that weren't technically supposed to exist anyways, but also let's be honest, it's virtually impossible to prevent everyone from filming at a live show. And sure, it's all said and done in a lighthearted, joking kind of way.
I think it's also just like the way, at least the way I am, is I'm very like, I joke about things. Like I say things in a very flippant manner, and like, even just in my real life, like if I'm just chilling with you, I'll say the most traumatizing and like crack a joke, and that's just always A, how I've coped, but B, just how I am about a lot of things. I'm a pretty unserious person, and I think in serious situations that like bites me in the ass, because then it's like, you know what I mean? Like, why were you joking about it on stage in Sacramento, California, Tana? But like, here we are.
But I don't think Tana was trying to launch some controversy or direct accusations against Cody. But oh, how things can change.
We thought we could trust the people as we had the whole tour. Because it really was, like at every other show, we were saying the craziest shit about people. And it wasn't being brought to light. And however, I understand that this isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
Yeah.
And sidebar, just because like I can't not ask because I don't know. This is completely unrelated to the situation, but from what I've been able to find, it seems like some of these shows at venues are all ages. Like does anybody watching this right now know to verify? Like I obviously haven't been to a show, and obviously people aren't supposed to film, so I actually have no idea like what they talk about in the show. So I'm not gonna make any assumptions here, but like, has anyone watching been to an actual show? I'm so curious to understand. And are these shows all ages, or like, do you actually need like a 18 and up ID to get in? Like, I'm just wondering, were children present when people are asking about like dick size? Are we okay? Are parents there? Okay, anyways, one thing at a time. Now, it's not a secret that Tana and Cody knew each other. They've appeared in each other's videos a few times over the years, but going back through the timeline, it's clear that Tana was actually a fan of Cody well before her YouTube days, tweeting things like, "I love you, Cody Ko," in October 2014 when Tana was 16 and Cody was 23, or like, "I wish Cody Ko was my BFF." And later in May 2015, Tana tweeted, "Cody won't love me," just a month before she turned 17. Cody was 24. And she's continued to be a fan of Cody from 2018 when Tana was 20, Cody was 28. If you don't like Cody Ko's YouTube videos, I literally cannot like you. Taking a look back at some of Tana's Twitter feeds circa 2014 where Tana was 16 years old, it's clear that she like idolized Cody, right? And it's not hard to see why. Like Cody was a charming, conventionally attractive, recent college guy who was gaining a large following on Vine with his sketch videos. And she was basically still a kid, just hyping up her favorite content creators, all shortly before she became a YouTuber herself.
It is, I definitely am like, why was he doing that? You know what I mean? Because I grew up loving him and I think you know what I mean? Like I was just like excited and a fan and like, and I understand that that's where now as a grown adult you can say you were taken advantage of.
The thing that gets me is that Cody literally knew that Tana was a fan of his. And then in May 2016, Tana tweets out a new YouTube video titled The Shittiest Video Ever featuring Cody Ko.
What's up guys, it's Tana Mongeau and I'm here with Tana. Not gonna laugh at my jokes this time.
This video.
Now the camera's on, you're not gonna laugh at my jokes.
Don't check out his channel. I'm literally not even gonna link it, but like you're gonna have to Google his name, which I'm not even gonna tell you. That's gonna get bleeped.
Don't bleep it.
Now, if first impressions mean anything, then they appeared to be, you know, two people who were quite comfortable in each other's presence. And something to note, they're not explicit about how they came to meet or really even why they're collabing on a video together. In the video, they say it was a suggestion through their management teams, but then they laughed that off as a joke. So the next question is, how did Cody and Tana first meet in person? Well, I've done my best to try to piece together a timeline and leave something in the comments as to if you found something else, but all evidence points to Tana and Cody crossing paths during Playlist Live Orlando in April of 2016. We know Cody attended Playlist Live Orlando from multiple interviews and appearances that he made at the event and his own 2016 recap video.
Flew to Orlando for Playlist Live, got a private tour of Universal, which was cool because, you know, the whole no lines thing, but Orlando sucks ass, so why do people go there?
And Tana Mongeau also attended Playlist Live Orlando that year when Tana was, say it with me now, 17 years old. And then a few weeks later on May 13th, we get Tana's collab video with Cody, which would give us the greatest hits, like Cody being mesmerized by Tana's derrière as she walks off.
Check me out on YouTube. All right, so
and Tana's edit shading Cody and his tiny meat gang.
I'm like really small, I'm like really small, I'm like really small, I'm like really small. But I'm still so like compelled by myself on that screen.
Anyways, we also know that both of them later attended the Playlist Live DC event in 2016. And a few months later, another collab video between Cody and Tana appeared, this time on Cody's channel titled Cringing at My Very First Bynes with Tana Mongeau.
These are so bad.
I'm honestly so surprised that he's like letting me be in this video. Like I'm so happy.
I'm sorry that we all had to see that. Now, in the recent weeks following the leaked video from her podcast tour, Tana has addressed the allegations several times, starting with her appearance on the Dressed Trish podcast on June 20th, 2024.
And I'm sure you experienced this a lot with David. I was talking about this yesterday as well, but like the difference in when you're coming for someone or just telling the truth about someone. I don't even want to say coming for someone.
Right.
When you're telling the truth about someone and they're a well-liked person versus a not well-liked person.
Yeah.
Because it's like when they're not a well-liked person, like everyone's like, they're so down to get on that bandwagon and be like them. But like if you're saying like something happened with a well-liked person, it's crazy the way it can be like received.
Now, Tana holds back on the details here, but I think it's clear that this has been affecting her. Cody Ko has an extremely large fan base and also a large female fan base, and Tana's reputation hasn't exactly been flawless. I mean, no one's has. And these allegations are things that could have repercussions on her career and public perception simply because of the unfavorable way that the public often responds to accusers when when the accused is a popular public figure.
Yeah, and then when it flips too, because that happened with me with David, right? He was so loved, so then everyone hated me. And then the minute like other stuff coming out, like other people started saying stuff, it was almost like, oh, Trisha's right, she's been saying this all along. You know what I mean? Which is like fine, and then when that happens, it feels like good, but it does take a minute for it to come out. Or the stuff with Colleen, right? Like, I mean, I feel like Adam talked about it for so long, and no one was like, I didn't know what was happening, no one was taking it seriously. And then other stuff starts coming out, and you're just like, oh my God, like this person's kind of like a person. Maybe what he was saying, there is some like truth to it.
Just one day later, on June 21st, Tana and Brooke released episode 88 of the canceled podcast. And at the end of the episode, Tana more thoroughly addresses the comments she made about Cody Ko during the live show.
I've tried to talk about this a million times, and I feel like I never have the right words. But it's everywhere all over the internet, and I know people want me to talk about it, and I'm gonna do my best right now, you know? I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25. Yeah, it happened. And I think that I'm trying to think about it from a perspective of like a younger sister or someone that I really care about. Even the other day, like I was texting just about her life and everything that's going on in her life right now, and I thought to myself like how protective I was over her, especially before she was 18. And if something like that was happening to her, I would never let it fly.
And there it is. Tana alleges that she had S with Cody Ko when she was 17 and he was 25. And Tana is very self-aware when it comes to her reputation and the situation as a whole, but is clearly still processing what happened, which like, of course she is. Based on what she's intimated, her circumstances caused her to really downplay the potential trauma she went through and how she doesn't currently consider herself to be a victim, which is, just so you know, why I'm gonna be placing that in quotes as much as I can today.
I don't know how to put this without, because I'm not trying to diminish anyone else's anything and anything else. Like,
No,
you know,
of course not. And this
like,
is your own experience.
But if I were to
too.
sit here and be like, I'm a victim and this was so horrible and oh my God, I'm so traumatized and oh my God, like whatever, like I don't feel that way.
But then
I just know it was wrong and he was wrong.
Yeah, and I also think if you did sit here and you said all that, then it is just kind of discrediting people who really do feel like that.
Yeah.
Because then it's like you're making it into something that's not for yourself.
She does intimate how she's learning that the encounter with Cody and the industry placed her in scenarios that were not age appropriate and forced her to grow up way sooner than a kid should have to, which is very common, honestly, for people who have lived through SA or exploitation at a young age. Like, I can testify to that.
Well,
You know what I mean?
It's honestly disgusting, and I also think when you're that age, you think you know everything and you think you're way more mature than you actually are. And then from our age now, we can look at it in hindsight's 2020 and it's like, oh my God, you were a child.
Yes.
You were young.
I think a lot of things like that happened to me as well, because I really did have to grow up severely at a really young age.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like by the time I was 16, I truly was just like, even when it came down to knowledge and wisdom and everything, I was a 21-year-old.
You were forced to grow up so early.
And because of that, a lot of ended up happening to me that probably shouldn't have happened.
To take this even further, in the podcast episode releasing on July 25th, Tana pulls up her old Twitter DMs with Cody that include messages dating back to when she was just 16 years old, meaning their relationship started to some capacity long before Playlist Live.
It also just wasn't like one time. Like I hooked up with Cody Ko so many times across the years that it's like, if I have to like, the thing is I don't have the old phone. Like I want to go find my old phone or old whatever, like to gather more. What if I just went to my Twitter DMs with him to see if they still exist from when I was like literally a baby child? Let's see. Brother. And I was just such a fan. That's like the sad part, is it's like definitely an abuse of power.
Now, we don't know the content of these messages, and maybe we never will, but Tana said it best. It was an abuse of power. She was a fan and new to the industry, and a large creator was giving her attention. They began messaging almost a full year before meeting in person, and as you saw from the clip, it was a lot of messages. And not to mention the age gap, an 8-year difference, and an even bigger maturity gap from your late teens to your mid-20s. And although honestly, I'm not sure mature is the word that comes to mind when I think of Cody Ko in that era.
What up? Blaze here, 33, and I f***ing hate babies.
And the thing is, Cody can't really make excuses about not understanding the problem between the age and what's going on. Like, he literally tweeted this, quote, "To everyone inviting me to prom or winter formal, I am 25 years old." That tweet was from back in January of 2016, just a few months before he met Tana at Playlist Live Orlando, and 4 months before they would appear in one of Tana's vlogs. Maybe Cody doesn't want to go to the prom, but based on his alleged actions, it seems like he would still consider going home with the prom queen. So again, let's consider Tana's perspective here. You're 17, bright-eyed, thinking about your blossoming future. People are showering attention on you. You look up to this famous internet guy, and maybe you want to impress him, maybe he says nice things to you, and your life is surrounded by grown adults hyping you up in the same industry, and in your still developing kid brain, you think, OMG, my favorite influencer likes me, this is amazing. I'll do what he says. Surely he's not a f***ing creep. And if we consider Cody's potential perspective, you're a super successful grown adult influencer, you're making big money, everyone wants to be you, women are throwing themselves at you flirtatiously, and you see this young girl who's captivated by you. You know she looks hella young, you're even warned, and you think, holy shit, let me cut this off right now with the handshake and a goodbye and make sure your parents know where you are, right, Cody? But back to the story. Remember how I said that there was something twisted in the air? Well, there was a witness, a perfect witness, who has been celebrated and praised for her handling of the Playlist Live situation. Her name, Gabbie Hanna. But there's actually potentially more to Gabbie Hanna's involvement here than most people have been discussing or noticing, and if it's true, it gets much, much darker than ever imagined. Gabbie Hanna, another former Vine star and controversial internet personality known for her YouTube channel, music career, and this.
Bullies. These are bullies.
Regardless of your opinions of her, Gabbie had an undeniable reach with her following of more than 5.6 million YouTube subscribers, a similar size to Cody Ko. And while Gabbie has been known to struggle with her mental health, which we will not be making light of, and had more than her share of cancelable moments, she's seemingly pivoted away from, I don't know, trolling the internet in favor of pursuing her music career as, I believe, a Christian music / influencer. So with that in mind, that's where she is currently. And these things about Gabbie are things that came from the past. So this is not things about Gabbie that just happened currently. So I think that's important to keep in mind because she may have grown and changed. But from what I can uncover, it was Tana who first named Gabbie Hanna as a witness to the Cody situation during an episode of the Canceled podcast, and the most well-known clip was from a recent episode, but it actually dates back further.
There was a situation with Gabbie Hanna at a Playlist Live where she pulled him aside and told him like, yo, she's 17, and then we still went and hooked up.
There's actually more allegations made in this part of the story about Gabbie Hanna, many of which seem to be kind of hiding in plain sight, but very few people are talking about it, you know, given the rightful frustration over Cody Ko. So I decided to do some more digging because if these allegations are true, I think it paints a complex story of Gabbie's actual involvement in a much more concerning light that may involve Gabbie attempting to exploit Tana's trauma to mask her own problematic image at the time. Now, just a heads up, much of this is speculation at this point, and I think it would be fair to hear Gabbie out on this. I don't think she'll speak on it, but it would be fair. So I'm just asking questions. While we do have some other corroborating evidence, most is just hearsay, and therefore this is just alleged. Most everyone by now is familiar with the old dug-up clip heard around the world thanks to D'Angelo Wallace's powerful call-out video titled An Uncomfortable Conversation About Cody Ko, where he played a clip of Gabbie Hanna talking about how she witnessed an adult YouTuber making out with an underage girl, and that Gabbie Hanna came to the rescue, warning him that the girl was underage and that he ignored the warning and, quote, effed her that night.
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he turned that
that?
Now, D'Angelo's breakdown of the situation is spot on, as one would expect, because D'Angelo Wallace is a fantastic creator, and his video will be linked in the description along, again, with some other creators. But his video posted on July 14th brought what Tana experienced and the harm of Cody Ko even further into the general consciousness of the internet, and national news outlets started covering it even more than they had, generating way more discussion than ever before.
These recent allegations are bad enough on their own, but there are a couple of things that make them worse still. Things that many people don't know yet, but you do. You know that Tana has been making this same specific claim against you for years now. Here she is back in 2021 saying the same thing.
I was 17 at the time, 18. I started kind of hooking up with other people. Shout out JC Kalen, shout out Cody Ko.
But did you know that back on August 5th of 2021, almost 3 years ago to the date of me filming this, a commentary creator by the name of Repzilla, who currently has around 287,000 subscribers, made a video titled Gabbie Hanna Tried to Sell Tana's Trauma.
During the podcast, Trisha Paytas and Tana bonded over their mutual dislike of Gabbie Hanna, but then the conversation turned to a pretty strange point where Tana said that there was one person during this show that was older than her. At the time, she was about 17 years old, and this person was much older and made advances towards Tana that were inappropriate.
I don't know if I was 17 or 18. I was like on the brink, but I was at a playlist live and they were like trying to with me. And I'm like, it's something I never even like thought of again. You know what I mean? It was just like, and obviously it was like an older guy and whatever, but I mean, we're friends now. And like, obviously I'm not saying I should, it's right. It's not right. It's entire, but I don't know if I was 17 or 18. And I don't know if anything so bad ever happened to where it's like condemning them. It was more just like a flirty weird encounter or whatever.
And in this video from 2021, Repzilla plays the very same clip that D'Angelo also dug up, which also potentially means other creators had also posted this clip in 2021. I just haven't seen those if they exist.
Dude, one time I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he turned that.
Now remember, no one knew at the time that Cody Ko was allegedly the one that Gabbie was referring to. But in Repzilla's video, he details an alarming story about how Gabbie may have tried to sell the story of what happened to Tana, aka Tana's trauma, to Business Insider, or also known as simply Insider. Yeah, his source for this was none other than Tana Mongeau herself, who on August 3rd, 2021, just 2 days prior to Repzilla covering this story, she said the following.
And a couple weeks ago, I got a call from that, should I say it? That Gabbie Hanna was trying to sell to them that this YouTuber like with me when I was like underage, and then it was up, and I was like, what if this was my trauma? I get this call. Gabbie Hanna called me and said this YouTuber was trying to hook up with you when you were little.
I hate that.
And I was
hate
like,
that.
Now, to be fair, Tana doesn't get too explicit, so we can't definitively say she's talking about Cody here, but she calls it a, flirty encounter, which could mean, just about anything. Now, do I think this was about Cody Ko based on what we know? Yes, I do. I wouldn't be surprised at all if back in 2021, Tana was kind of softening the story because she wasn't ready to come out with more details and was likely still processing everything, so I want to just kind of err on the side of caution and leave the door open here. But back to what Tana is alleging here, because this is a big deal to me, that Gabbie Hanna tried to sell her story to the press. So let's dig even more. As of me filming this, Repzilla's video has just over 68,000 views, which is a lot of eyes, but also like not. And while some other channels did make mention of it around that time, like T-Spill, who covered this part of the story in December of 2021.
During the podcast with Amari and Ashley, Tana said something that I think maybe she was regretting because she ended up cutting it out of the video version uploaded to YouTube. Tana pretty much came right on out and said that she was 17/18 when she was hooking up with JC and Cody Ko. Cody Ko is 8 years older than Tana, which would make him around 25 or 26 when this all was going down.
And that's not right. That's not correct. I know now. I was 17 at the time, 18. And so I started kind of hooking up with other people. Shout out JC Kalen, shout out Cody Ko.
Oh, Jesus.
Which, understandably, a lot of people are really shocked and upset about if it's actually true. Here's what people had to say. If Cody Ko actually hooked up with Tana Mongeau when she was 17/18 while he was 25, 26, I will actually cry, scream, throw up, punch a wall like I'm sick.
Back then, the story didn't seem to gain any traction beyond, a few disgusted commenters on T-Spill's video, and either Cody's team managed to sweep it under the rug, or more likely, it didn't get much attention because, number one, people weren't open to the idea of Tana being a victim of anything.
I realized how much people will discredit, I guess, trauma or just crazy or like whatever when you are wild.
Or this didn't take off because, number two, this was happening during the peak of Gabbie Hanna's own controversies that were spiraling out of control all over the internet, with headlines like, YouTuber Gabbie Hanna is lashing out at multiple creators after people criticized her 2017 poetry, and inside YouTuber Gabbie Hanna's complex feud with drama channel Angelica Oles over a murdered teenager, and quote, how former Vine star Gabbie Hanna and Jessie Smiles' friendship unraveled in a multi-year saga on YouTube, where you may remember that Gabbie Hanna had been widely accused of being an R-word apologist after creator Jessie Smiles was tragically SA'd by her guilty as hell then boyfriend, convicted Curtis Lepore, and Gabbie was very vocally skeptical of Jessie both during the time of the allegations and long since after, even though convicted Curtis had not only admitted to what he did, but took a plea deal and pled guilty to charges. It's hard to say what Gabbie's true intentions were, especially if she was suffering through a mental health situation at the time, but typically mental health issues don't absolve people from accountability, and in many people's opinions, Gabbie Hanna handled that situation in a reprehensible manner.
You are narcissistic abusers, and you have been for 6 years, Jessie Smiles. I have to keep that in. These are bullies. These are high school bullies.
Gabbie also went on the attack against the show Escape the Night, including accusing the host Joey Graceffa and producer Daniel Preda of triggering her eating disorder for not meeting her dietary specifications on set. So in response, Joey Graceffa posted a YouTube video titled Gabbie Hanna Needs to Stop, where he refers to her as being a nightmare on set. Now, you may be asking, Swoop, oh, why the hell are you talking about this? What does this have to do with Tana and what allegedly happened to her? So, excellent question, friends and Suspirians. I'm bringing this up for one simple reason.
After all the Escape the Night, I wasn't like super in it. Like obviously it was an experience, and I could have a lot of to say.
Yeah, that's gross.
I know. I liked a Joey Graceffa tweet about what just impertinence to like his video or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I get this call. Gabbie Hanna called me and said this YouTuber was trying to hook up with you when you were 17,
Oh,
all this
ew,
shit.
I hate that.
And I hate
that.
I didn't even think about the fact. I was like, damn, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I guess that could be something that could be, but it's mine to like have or not have. And
you cannot bring someone else's trauma public. Like if you've never talked about it, if you're friends with this person, like regardless of how wrong it was. Ew.
According to Tana, because she liked a Joey Graceffa tweet, Gabbie Hanna called up Business Insider trying to sell or leak the story about an adult trying to hook up with Tana at Playlist Live. What in the whole grain, gluten-free audacity? Like, this is the kind of low-grade pettiness that Professor Petty doth protest to. It's gross. This is presumably the same adult, Cody, who Gabbie so freely spoke about on the podcast, where she painted herself as someone who was trying to protect child Tana from the big bad man.
And I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older. She's underage.
So let's dig just a little bit deeper. And again, this is all speculation, but remember all those headlines I cited earlier about Gabbie? YouTuber Gabbie Hanna is lashing out at multiple creators after people criticized her 2017 poetry. Or this one, Joey Graceffa says Gabbie Hanna was a nightmare on the set of Escape the Night. While they were just reporting the facts, all those articles were quite damning for Gabbie Hanna's public profile. And guess what? All of those articles were published by Business Insider, the very same media outlet that Tana said Gabbie was trying to sell her story of trauma to. And in the podcast, Tana prefaces this story by saying that she got a call a few weeks ago.
It was more just like a flirty weird encounter or whatever. And a couple weeks ago, I got a call from that, should I say it? That Gabbie Hanna was trying to sell to them that this YouTuber like hooked up with me when I was like underage.
Now remember, that podcast was posted on August 3rd, 2021, so we could infer that a few weeks ago was sometime in early to mid-July of 2021. And coincidentally, when do you think those scathing articles about Gabbie Hanna were published to Business Insider? If you guessed the same time frame, you would be correct. Round of applause. Those articles were published on June 28th, July 7th, and July 10th in the year of our Lord 2021. So, what am I trying to say? Nothing. I'm just showing the timeline of events and what has been said and asking questions. And again, to be fair, I can't make a concrete statement about this without Gabbie telling her side, but I will ask this question. Is it possible that given the coincidental timeline, that Gabbie Hanna, after seeing Tana like a damn tweet from Joey Graceffa of all things, and given the press Gabbie was getting, is it possible that Gabbie was trying to exploit Tana's trauma and sell it to the press in hopes of bolstering her own damaged reputation by sainting herself as the one adult in the situation who was trying to protect Tana? What do you think?
I mean, I get, wanting to get a little bit of attention, but, I guess we all choose different ways to get that attention.
If, with a lot of F's, there's any validity to this question, then my next question is, if Gabbie knew that Cody was an adult and being inappropriate with a minor, why would Gabbie think that it was appropriate to exploit the trauma of the child, even though it was years later and Tana was now an adult? So with all that in mind, my final Gabbie Hanna question is this. Does this clip come across any different to you knowing these allegations?
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she looks a little older, she's underage.
Now, I want to stress that just like there's no such thing as the perfect victim, there's also no such thing as the perfect witness. By all accounts, Gabbie Hanna was a witness, and just because Gabbie may have done something potentially diabolical, that still doesn't take away from the actual story and the central focus that Cody Ko allegedly committed a crime against Tana. And also remember, this was 3 years ago when Gabbie allegedly tried to sell the story, so all I can do is hope that she has grown and changed from that. But also remember, Tana found out through a phone call where someone tipped her off. What if that call was just Business Insider contacting Tana directly to get a quote on a story that they were going to proceed with regardless? Then what? It's possible that the idea of Tana's story being sold without her input or consent could have pushed her into speaking about this back on the canceled podcast in 2021, regardless of whether or not she was ready to, which could essentially then maybe by correlation mean that Gabbie Hanna's actions may have pushed or forced an alleged victim to speak when they didn't want to.
I was so afraid for so long of just telling the truth about it. It could be the cold hard truth, but I'm like, A, people aren't gonna believe me, I'm Tana fucking Mongeau, I'm psycho. B, I get so scared of people where it's I could say Gabbie and I didn't have the best time on Escape the Night. There were moments where we were friends, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and act like we were never friends, but I'm saying I was scared to even just say something like that because I'm like, what if she finds our text from 2015 and cancels me or anyone in that case? I was so afraid of even just not doing a podcast for so long. I was like, I'm gonna talk my truth about so much, and I was so afraid of.
Now, in addition to all of this, we've now got an imperfect witness to the imperfect witness, Keemstar. Yeah, I know, but hear me out, okay? In a tweet on July 15th, 2024, Keemstar seems to corroborate both Tana's story and Gabbie's story, and also Tana's story about Gabbie allegedly trying to sell her story to Business Insider. I know it's a lot, but quote, "This is what I know. Years ago, Gabbie Hanna told me in an off-record statement that a 25-year-old Cody Ko was kissing a 17-year-old Tana Mongeau at a playlist live in Florida. The age of consent in Florida is 18. Anyone 24 or older hooking up with a 16, 17-year-old is statutory. Gabbie told me that she pulled Cody Ko aside to inform him Tana was 17, and Cody Ko said thank you for the warning to Gabbie. Gabbie said later that night Cody Ko had S with Tana even though she warned him. I also spoke with Tana to confirm the story. She confirmed it, but at the time Tana was upset with Gabbie for sharing her story. Business Insider was also made aware of this years ago. There is no new statement from Gabbie, but I did get permission to share what I was told years ago. Drama Alert has another source claiming they seen this event happen. And in case anyone is upset with Keemstar that he didn't share this information all those years ago,
I am seeing a lot of replies of people saying, well, Keem, you knew about this alleged statutory of Tana Mongeau by Cody Ko for years, and you didn't say anything. You're a horrible, horrible person. Guys, this was told to me years ago off record. I can't just leak that to the internet without knowing it's true, without someone actually going on record and destroying Cody Ko's career over something that can't be confirmed. There's no witness on record. I can't just leak that. Please use your brains, all right? I can't just come out with that statement. I wasn't there. I didn't see it with my own eyes. I get told crazy allegations off record on a daily basis. And what my team does is we try to find stuff online to confirm it. And if we can't get some credible stuff online or other witnesses that come out publicly, there's not much we can do.
And taking it back to Repzilla, he added even more nuance to the conversation that's worth a look.
Now, there's some pretty big nuances in this situation. Number one being that it wouldn't be any creator's place to come out and talk about another creator's emotional situations, especially if they wasn't ready. Because publicly discussing Tana's situation without her being okay with it could have caused further harm. However, in some jurisdictions, there may be legal obligations for somebody to report a crime, especially if it has to do with a minor. During that time in 2016, Gabbie Hanna was 25 years old, the same age as Cody Ko. Consequences for failing to report are criminal charges. Legal protections are that good faith reporters are generally protected from civil or criminal liability. Even the identity of the reporter is usually kept confidential. These laws are in place in Florida to mandate reporting suspected ABUSC of children and vulnerable adults with significant penalties for failing to do so. Now, it is possible that Gabbie did report this to the police. We don't know.
Now, despite Gabbie's past involvement, she's stayed curiously silent in present day. I'm guessing it's maybe because she knew these allegations about her would surface again, similar to the way Cody Ko stayed silent all those years for his Gabbie has made some cryptic hints in the form of an Instagram post on July 17th, captioned with a Bible quote, "Little children, keep yourself from idols. What is done in the dark will be exposed in the light," which is, you know, ironic, I guess, but only time will tell if Gabbie speaks any further on this.
It doesn't matter how much makeup they have, like you just know it. I'm like, yeah, you do. Like there's an innocence about being 17. That's f***ing creepy.
Now, I just want to mention something. I am aware that there was another alleged victim of Cody's. There was a statement that came out from a third party saying they remembered Cody allegedly dating a high schooler when he was 24. But from everything I have seen, she appears to be a private citizen and has not herself come forward. And so legally speaking, we can't dig further. This actually reminds me of what happened with another story that I really wanted to cover, had every intention of covering last year, but we had to completely drop it because as it turned out, and don't worry, this was all communicated with but we discovered midway through the process that the accused was actually a private citizen, contrary to what the mass public thought. And once we discovered this, which took some time, we were forced to drop it, which was really upsetting. There was also at least one journalist who had to drop their story for the exact same reason. I literally had to deal with YouTube legal over this same stuff, and trust me, no one wants to be dealing with YouTube legal. That was terrifying, okay? No, there were like some other medical factors to that situation that I definitely don't have the right to speak to, so we had to walk away. And listen, like I don't really talk about this, but there were some people online who were very nasty to me and my team because we had to walk away, but there are so many things that people don't realize that happen behind the scenes of stuff like this, including things like what Keemstar was referencing. So like if you ever see me start to cover a story and then have to stop, it is always for a good reason, I promise. So long story short, I'm not gonna cover this alleged high schooler allegation in the Cody story, and all I can do is wish her the very best and hope that if she was harmed, that she finds healing. Now, let's briefly break down this alleged crime against Tana. And to be clear, I believe Tana. And while I have to say allegedly, assuming it's true, it was a crime. So let's look at this from a kind of legal perspective. What, you didn't think Petty University had a law school? I'm just kidding, I'm not an attorney. This isn't legal advice, blah, 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 blah. But D'Angelo Wallace said it in no uncertain terms here.
To be clear, 17 is under the age of consent in many states, including Florida, where Playlist Live used to take place. So this means that Tana Mongeau is accusing you of statutory, and she's not trying to hide that.
This isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
Statutory R, as defined by the Encyclopedia Britannica, consists of, quote, non-forced relations between an adult and an individual who legally is not old enough to consent to the behavior. Sorry that I get a little heated on this topic. Like, can we just stop there and I just call it a day on this debate in this country? No? Well, shittlebits. Fine. Maybe there are some who are thinking that this is getting blown way out of proportion. Tana was just 2 months shy of 18 at the time. Does it really matter? Well, yes, it does. Both legally and psychologically. There are reasons why laws like this exist, down to the 364th day of a birthday. The law says you're still not able to consent in the eyes of the law. Now, in the US, the age of consent is different depending on the state, which is, it's a lot. For example, the age of consent in California, where Cody lives, is 18. The legal age of consent in Georgia, 16. Wyoming, 17. Kentucky, 16. Delaware, 16. Arkansas, 14? Connecticut, 13 if we're talking the Romeo and Juliet exceptions. It's a deeply complex and often flawed system, but in this story, we're looking at Florida state laws which codify the age of consent as 18, and Tana was 17. So do we see the problem here? But these laws do have degrees of nuance to them. For example, some states have what's called a close in age exemption, where if the two partners are within a certain age of one another, it doesn't fall under these laws. So like, let's take a closer look at the Florida statutory essay legislation here. Quote, a child under 16 years of age cannot consent regardless of the age of the defendant. A child who is at least 16 years of age and less than 18 of age cannot consent if the defendant is 24 years of age or older. Not convinced? The Legal Survival Guide specifies again that, quote, the only exception to the legal age of consent is the so-called Romeo and Juliet law, which is a close in age exception. This Florida law states that minors who are 16 or 17 can consent to S activity with someone no more than 23 years old. If the adult is age 24 or older, it's considered statutory R. And how old was Cody again when this allegedly occurred?
25.
Right. So now that we've got that cleared up, let me say it again. A child who is at least 16 years of age and less than 18 years of age cannot consent if the defendant is 24 years of age or older, and fucking quote. And let's not forget the power dynamic at play here, right? Because for some effing reason, even when it's against the law, it seems as though alleged perpetrators who are powerful public figures are given a pass. Like, did y'all know, I learned this. Did y'all know that back in 1993, comedian Jerry Seinfeld, yeah, that one, was dating a 17-year-old girl when he was 38. A girl that he picked up in Central Park, Feedly-dee! A literal high school student, Feedly-dee! Sorry. Speaking of age gaps, there are people who see these age gap relationships as an ethical gray area, regardless of how well defined the laws are. And it's a sad reality of our culture that SA is one of the most underreported crimes in the United States. And even when justice is pursued, the vast majority of offenders do not see jail time. So when people say, oh, why didn't you stop complaining and go to the police? It's because that doesn't always help anything. Like, don't believe me? Let me give you a really quick, incredibly effed up example of this based on personal experience, because as y'all know, sometimes on my channel, I share personal things that I've experienced. Tons of you have told me that it just helps and makes you feel a little more seen. So I will continue to do that. Like, I literally don't care if someone thinks it's cringe. That's their problem, not mine. Because again, you know, any of us who share, even you in the comments, we share to try to destigmatize these tough conversations. And in case any of you watching have ever been harmed and either are afraid to speak out, about, which is very valid, or you've tried and were invalidated, which I'm so sorry. Just let me be someone to tell you that you deserve to share your story as much as you want or don't want. It's really that simple. So, quick story. A few years ago, a pathetic and disgusting asswipe of a man named Ron Jeremy was arrested and charged with 34 criminal counts of SA, of which he pled guilty to over 30 counts, including 12 counts of forcible R-word, battery, and lewd acts on minors, spanning 23 years. He was a prolific serial essayist. Now, why does this matter to me? Because Ron Jeremy assaulted me in public in front of many witnesses at a music concert. Now, I was not one of the ones who brought charges against him because I did what many survivors do and emotionally just diminished what happened to me, in my head because, he only SA'd me. And I kind of just tried to explain away that, what he did to me was not as bad as what he did to others. And, realistically, I still think that way. And unfortunately, many survivors diminish our experiences. Tana also speaks about this. And in my opinion, I'm willing to guess troglodyte asshat Ron Jeremy has actually harmed hundreds of people. I know that he did similar to creator Kat Black, who also shared about her experience. And what happened to Ron Jeremy asshat Ronnie Boy after he pled guilty? Abso-fucking-lutely nothing. Nothing. As of April of this year, all 34 charges were dismissed against him. It was a f***ing moment when I discovered that. Now, why were they dismissed? It's not because the survivors didn't have a case. It was because he allegedly suffers from dementia. Yeah. That's why. So this idea that once a survivor goes public with what happened to them, all will be peachy in the land of justice is very often a complete f***ing lie. And I'm not saying that to discourage any of you from going forward to the police. If you have the strength, please do so. But when we see instances of the public reaction to Tana coming forward, however she chose to do so is to do mental gymnastics, trying to claim, well, she was 17 and 364 days of blah, blah, blah. Go to the police. Not only does that make a situation more it continues to cause widespread damage to survivors in a situation where they're already up against immense challenges in getting any sort of justice. Okay. Rant done. One of the most troubling, but unfortunately not surprising, terrible things about Tana's story doesn't just stop with what Cody allegedly did. Some people online felt the need to instantly doubt, dismiss, and mock Tana simply because she's Tana Mongeau and because she came out with her story. She spoke out loud. I know, how dare she?
The public's reaction to this has made me feel 10 different types of ways that I didn't feel before. Like, I have seen so many comments of people on some but what was she wearing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On some well, it's Tana Mongeau. And
ew,
isn't that crazy?
That's so f***ed up.
Because I really you know how I feel towards it, but now seeing all of these people not believe me and say, well, what if she's lying or she's this and she's that and she's dramatic? First of all, there's nothing, I would never lie about that. I'm not gonna put an allegation on anyone, ever like that, obviously. But then then I just I feel so bad for all of these young girls because then they see that and then it makes them not want to come forward. And then I am wow, everyone.
Yeah.
Seeing people not believe you is so crazy.
Since the dawn of time, people have been fast to protect the abuser while attacking the victim. In a headline article on the subject, Shanna Mayer, author and professor of criminal justice at Widener University, said, quote, "We don't believe survivors in general. We completely doubt their credibility." And in a fascinating article from Very Well Mind, written by author, psychological rehabilitation specialist, and educator Kendra Cherry, titled "Why Do People Blame the Victim?" quote, "Blaming the victim is a phenomenon in which victims of crimes or tragedies are held accountable for what happened to them. Victim blaming allows people to believe that such events could never happen to them. Blaming the victim is known to occur in R and SA cases where the victim of crime is often accused of inviting the attack due to her clothing or behavior." And one of the things that Cherry discusses is a phenomenon called fundamental attribution error. Quote, "The fundamental attribution error is a bias that involves attributing other people's behaviors to internal personal characteristics while ignoring external external forces and variables that also might have played a role. When a classmate flunks a test, for example, you probably attribute their behavior to a variety of internal characteristics. You might believe that the other student didn't study hard enough, isn't smart enough, or is just plain lazy. Now, if you were to fail a test, however, what would you blame your poor performance on? In many cases, people blame their failings on external sources. You might protest that the room was too hot and you couldn't concentrate, or that the teacher didn't grade the test fairly or included too many trick questions. And perhaps one of the most alarming yet easy to understand reasons why people blame victims is because hindsight is 2020. Quote, when we look at an event that happened in the past, we have a tendency to believe that we should have been able to see the signs and predict the outcome. The hindsight makes it seem like the victim of a crime, accident, or another form of misfortune should have been able to predict and prevent whatever problem might have befallen them. No matter how clear-cut the facts, there are people who will find a way to place blame on the victim. And unfortunately, these are the kinds of comments that Tana endured in the wake of the leaked video.
I have like so many thoughts on this whole situation, you know what I mean? And I was first talking about like trauma, and I don't know if you do this, I wonder if you relate to this, but like there's a lot of things I look back on that I think would maybe traumatize. I love how serious we just got. Yeah, I know. I want to finish The Smallest Man in the World, but we'll go back. I got it in my brain, okay? That like would maybe traumatize the average person more, but you've been through things that are so much more detrimental that you can kind of look back at these things and they don't really feel traumatizing. Like, and that was kind of the situation I was in and like my perspective on it. But then I was like, but at the same time, like if I had a 17-year-old daughter or a little sister or something, like I would kill. Yeah. You know, so then it's like, same, yeah. It's hard in that regard. But the thing that was actually really heartbreaking to me and kind of crazy to me is after it started going viral, like seeing so many people like not believing me and being like, it's Tana, so who cares, it's this. And then I just started to feel bad for so many other girls who maybe look up to me and want to speak their truth and then see the way people like.
I think those words are actually very powerful and again remind me of how important it is to try and normalize these conversations. That's why we talk about it here. But what about Cody's side of the story? Now, to be fair, we should be willing to hear from him, so let's take a listen to his response to all of these allegations. My mistake, so sorry. Cody has been very quiet about all of this, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, you know, unless you consider him DJing a set at the Encore Beach Club in Las Vegas, playing Justin Bieber's song Sorry, a response, then... Ironically, you have to be over 21 to get into that show. Fiddly-dee! Aside from that, what we do know is that on July 26, a post made to the staff of the Tiny Meat Gang podcasting network stated that Cody would be stepping away from the day-to-day operations at TMG. Quote, we want to start by thanking you all for your patience while we were working to figure out the best path forward for the studio. We know it's been a very strenuous few weeks for everyone, and we really appreciate your willingness to bear with us. You are the most creative and incredible group of people. We feel so lucky to work with all of you. TMG Studios is what it is because of you. We couldn't be more proud of the incredible roster of talent. We've been privileged to work with you and everything we've accomplished. Words, words, words. As we enter into this next phase of the studio, we wanted to let you know that Cody will not be involved in the day-to-day operations at TMG Studios. What has transpired over the past few weeks is a personal issue for him, and Cody wants to remove any effect this is having on your professional and personal lives and the work you and your other hosts have done to make TMG Studios so successful. Noel will continue to lead the team. His top priority remains the life and growth of the studio and its talent. Our audience sees your hard work every week, and we want that to continue. They deserve it, and so do you. We have built something truly special, and he's committed to keeping that alive and well. Now, this joint statement from Noel and Cody was later released on the TMG website, but it's, you know, really buried in there under the members only tab. You know, of course, you have to be a paid member if you want to leave a comment or even view the comments, which is very on brand with his Patreon paywall apology about racism. So, you know, cool, staying with it. But I especially like the creative choice to write this TMG letter in the third person referring to Cody, but then have Cody sign the letter. Even this choice distances Cody Cody from accountability, although there are no apologies being made here and no specifics, and this message sidesteps around what the accusations even are, calling it a personal issue for Cody. You know, again, it's a choice. And the thing is, just because Cody isn't involved in day-to-day operations now doesn't mean he's not the, you know, owner anymore. And so he's likely going to continue to profit off of the content the company makes, which is somewhat complicated, let's be real. But like at the same time, it's a very thing for everyone else with the company and for the company itself, because like they ain't got nothing to do with this and what Cody has done on his own free time. And like the actions of leaders shouldn't just invalidate the company and like all of the good people working within it. Like I know people often want to shut down companies in these types of situations, but I don't think that's necessarily fair to the many, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of people who would lose their jobs or their careers. So it's very complicated, right? But with that said, at least one of the shows, their studio hosts did decide to cut ties on their own. That's their choice. And again, I think shows that stay with the company, I don't think that they should be grilled or roasted or given a hard time. Like this is just, it's just bad all around, and they're just trying to do their thing, right? But the show that stepped away is Emergency Intercom with Drew and Enya, and they announced their decision to leave TMG Studios following the allegations surrounding Cody. Quote, "Hey everyone, we wanted to express that we are moving the podcast to be produced independently by us, so in the meantime, no episodes this week while we figure out the best plan forward. Thanks for your understanding and patience." And it's also worth noting that The Cut has removed their video collaborations with Cody Ko. My guess is at this point, Cody is hoping this, you know, will eventually just blow over and kind of be forgotten. And honestly, there's always the chance of that. That's happened all the time. But it also could have huge legal implications for Cody. Like we've already established that if these allegations are true, and that's not me doubting Tana, that's just how I have to phrase it, Cody has committed a criminal act, allegedly. And while Tana doesn't currently seem interested in pursuing this through the legal system, it's hard to say if Cody could even be prosecuted. It's tough. And in this story, the statute of limitations to report a crime like this in the state of Florida is 8 years after the victim turns 18. Tana is currently 26, meaning it's been 8 years exactly. Now, of course, I'm not a lawyer and not familiar enough with the nitty-gritty of Florida law, but it might explain Cody's silence. But there's also another issue for Cody here. Like he's a Canadian and currently applying for American citizenship, and any legal issues or pending criminal cases could wreck that process. And from what I can tell, I think Cody is applying for citizenship through his wife. Kelsey is an American YouTuber who has been married to Cody since 2023. And by the way, did we mention that they have a kid together? Yeah, it's complicated. And listen, like the way I see this has got to be a time for Kelsey. Like imagine just over a year into your marriage, these allegations come out, and on top of that, as the wife, you're now being harassed in the comments of your own personal YouTube channel and Instagram, flooded with viewers demanding that you get your husband to make a statement. Like I get why people feel compelled to do that. I really do, but I think it's crappy. Like this all happened years ago, well before Kelsey and Cody met, and I'm guessing she had no knowledge of this incident because like how many dudes are just like, hey, wife-to-be, did you know that I statutoried a girl back in the day? Isn't that so cool? Oh, I'm so hot. So I've never been a fan of people attacking who are likely innocent bystanders in the process, in their determination to get an answer from Cody. Like I personally would be horrified if someone were attacking the spouse of the man who SA'd me. I mean, y'all remember the Try Guys when people uncovered evidence that Ned Fulmer was cheating on his wife? He was like canceled, but Ariel got caught in the crossfires over her decision to stay with Ned, which is also crappy. So like, I really hope that at the very least, if Kelsey decides to stay with Cody, that people respect her decision for her family. But of course, Cody, listen, are you listening? It would be really cool if you at least said something to the public to stop harassing Tana and your wife. But you know, Cody and his team probably have their hands full with all of the comments they're deleting on the Cody Ko and small deli meats subreddits and whatnot, so they're staying busy.
On your YouTube channel, where you've been pumping out content nearly every day now, I couldn't find a single comment on your last video about this situation. Not even one. Comparing that to the comment section on your Instagram, where every single comment I saw was about this, it's clear that you're heavily censoring your audience on YouTube.
I want to touch on one of the other things that D'Angelo mentioned in his video regarding big content creators over 1 million subscribers not covering this story, likely because Cody was doing such a good job at sweeping this under the rug and people not really knowing about it.
None of your friends, nobody on your level, nobody in the commentary niche with enough pull is willing to admit that this situation makes you look terrible.
A lot of people like him a lot, and they really are like doing any kind of mental gymnastic to just ignore it.
I haven't seen a single channel over 1 million subscribers do so much as acknowledge that this situation exists. And I'm not talking about channels that never would have discussed something like this either. I mean the same channels that were rightfully calling out people like Dr. Disrespect for texting a minor, which are the same channels that are now completely ignoring a scenario with an even bigger creator being accused of doing something much worse.
So I'm just kind of touching on this because I've seen some backlash on D'Angelo for that statement. Now, my interpretation, for whatever it's worth, I can't read his mind, but my interpretation was that D'Angelo was mostly referencing large creators who have some sort of current or like, you know, recent past ties to Cody, whether it be his friends or collaborators and the like, and kind of like the bro commentary space. Like, I don't personally think that he was talking about every creator in the commentary space at large. The observation by many was that there were many creators associated with Cody who quickly covered stories like Dr. Disrespect, but we're not talking about this story, which had been simmering for a while. Now, we know that there's been a smattering of channels that have been talking about this since 2021 and even more recently before D'Angelo's video, but D'Angelo has a powerful voice and his video spurred a lot of big creators to talk, specifically the bro commentators, which I think is great. Like, at the end of the day, the more amplification of stories like these, hopefully the more awareness of these types of topics can really help people to learn how to better protect themselves from harm. I've always had that stance.
Cody Ko is a YouTuber. He's a beloved YouTuber with a massive audience. I've known him for like 10 years. I met him a long time ago. I mean, we're not like super close or anything, but I have known him for 10 plus years almost at this point. And something that I did not know about him was what he apparently did when he was 25 years old to a 17-year-old, also very famous at the time, content creator, Tana Mongeau. Or Mojo.
But sometimes, and again, this has nothing to do with D'Angelo. I think he's fantastic. I think his voice should be valued and protect him at all costs. And he created a very important video and I applaud his work. My whole team does. So put that aside. My next thoughts are about some public sentiment, not all. I don't think anything is a monolith. Some public sentiment, a little smaller public sentiment, that I've noticed over the years with breaking stories like this. There are creators, myself included, who can get overwhelmed when people expect or sometimes demand that creators cover a story, which has led some people to assume that every creator in this genre knows everything that's happening at every moment in time with every story, which of course is impossible. I mean, just for me, I took a couple of months off after the assault and woke up to the internet from hell with all of these people doing all of these terrible things. And I completely get where like viewers are coming from, right? Like, we want people to cover the stories that are important to us. And I so appreciate that passion in our community. I'm not talking about y'all. Like, y'all are always incredibly kind with your requests. And I just so appreciate when you guys do make a request and like a lot of you slip in there, like, as long as it's not triggering to you, you have no idea how much I just really feel supported, even with like a little sentence like that. When some of you make requests, we have the greatest community here that I cherish so much, and I value your input. But sometimes outside of us, I see, I go on Twitter and I see people get like mean. I've seen it happen to creator friends of mine who are honestly just trying to do their best and are good people. And I just always remember that just like there are bad faith creators out there, I'm thinking of you, Cody, Boogie, Ava, the list goes on. Unfortunately, there can also be bad faith viewers out there who use whatever story is breaking as an excuse to just attack a creator that they happen to not like. You know what I mean? So I typically try to ask myself, okay, what is the victim saying? Is the victim of the story specifically calling for certain people to address or talk about the story? Or is it open-ended? Or is it left unsaid? Like, how might the victim feel if they saw people online like kind of just attacking a random creator because they hadn't uploaded a video that day? I guess I just sometimes worry, like when some of the public focuses so hard on pushing a creator to cover a story and to do it immediately, rush, which I think is like honestly the last thing that we want is people rushing these stories. I just sometimes worry that we could be losing focus on the most important part, which at the end of the day is the victim, right? I know, y'all, I'm just singing to the choir here, but this is something that I thought quite a lot about this story, and I've thought about this for like a few years now, but there can be a zillion reasons why a creator doesn't cover a story that they're not involved in. Like, based on my own conversations with creators over the years, there are many who honestly get triggered with certain stories, making it too difficult for them to talk about, which I can totally relate to. I think these stories really do a number on the, you know, the old noodle mental health. Other times a creator might not feel like they have anything of value to add to the conversation, or that they're not educated enough on the topic and shouldn't talk about it. So those are all very valid reasons. And sometimes there's very real behind the scenes stuff, like I, you know, talked about earlier, like, you know, things like health or family or traveling or whatever it is. I just hope that people don't give D'Angelo any grief. Like, he's been through a lot. And I hope that these people out there who just want to kind of like go after creators without context, like, understand that there's usually more typically to the story of why they do or don't cover something. So let's bring the story back full circle and to the main focus, Tana, and the myth of the perfect victim, and how can we do better? With the constant influx of kids and teens gaining rapid fame, I think often our society has grown to expect these kids to function perfectly under enormous pressure every single day, not just in the entertainment industry and not just online, but in everyday lives, and especially for girls. There's an expectation to play up a very sexy persona for validation, you know, kind of like tap dance for the world, but, you know, not too much or we'll call you a hoe.
You definitely, I was saying this to you before, I've always just lived my life very crazily. I think we're similar in that sense. Like, we just grew up in a very crazy, turbulent way, and we live life so crazy, and then it's like you kind of wake up one day and you're like, maybe these things all weren't like normal, or like they're strange. And it's not, I'm not trying to like cancel anyone for anything because I don't have any room, but it is very.
No, but you so do.
But
Like, I like that you're coming around to this because you're actually still young to like think, know this kind of stuff and like realize it. But I like that you say something because you are known as being so wild, and I am too. Like, when you're open and you're very just think they can like do and say whatever.
And people really will. I've realized how much people will discredit, I guess, trauma or just crazy shit or like whatever when you are wild. You really did like open my eyes to a lot of that. On Frenemies, you said something about like, you're like, I hope she doesn't like, you know what I mean? Like, go so crazy and wake up one day and like be so broken or like something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like, it was a very like eye-opening thought to me.
I think part of Tana's audience grew to view her as an object rather than a kid, making that part of the foundation of why she might be hyper-sexualized. And I'm not blaming the viewers. Most of them were probably kids too, right? But I do kind of side-eye the adults who were capitalizing off of her and putting her in situations. I mean, we've seen this, right? Like countless times with celebrities, like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Miley Cyrus. Like, here's a snip from Britney Spears' memoir, The Woman in Me. I'd been eyeballed so much growing up. I'd been looked up and down, had people telling me what they thought of my body since I was a teenager. Shaving my head and acting out were my ways of pushing back. Gives me a lot to think about in regards to like Tana, right? Again, I'm not saying this is what exactly happened with Tana, I don't know, but something to consider. And Miley Cyrus had this to say about her time as a child performer in an interview with Harper's Bazaar. There's so much I don't remember about being a child entertainer because it was so much to keep in my brain. It's like anything when you're in it, I didn't realize how much pressure I was under and how much that shaped me until like this year. People were so shocked by some of the things that I did. It should be more shocking that when I was 11 or 12, I was put in full hair and makeup, a wig, and told what to wear by a group of mostly older men. Remember how Tana sadly said far worse has happened to her?
But I don't associate or hold it with trauma because I am such a comparative person where I'm like, so many worse things have happened to me. And that's bad.
I was just about to say, you can't do that to yourself though.
Like, but I genuinely feel that way. Like it feels like all of the other people I hooked up with when I was 18, whether they were 30 or whether they were not 30 and they were my age and they were whatever, like I was just in a place of life, especially the circles and world I was surrounded in Vegas and then coming to LA, like those are, if you're in the wrong realms, those can be very places.
And remember that Healthline article I quoted earlier? It also discussed the likelihood of a victim of abuse being more likely to become victimized again. So let's look at, kind of like a pulled out perspective here. Quote, when someone survives DV, SA, or R, more than once, people are more likely to think something is wrong with their survivor than the perpetrator, which is the very definition of victim blaming. People have a hard time believing that bad things just happen to anyone. Mayer says instead, they like to believe that bad things can only happen if someone did something or had some sort of vulnerability to begin with. Individuals try to figure out or point out what the survivor did differently than what they would have done because it makes them feel more safe in the world. Now, Mayer says, in reality, questioning the survivor or victim blaming misses the larger issue. Instead of asking why someone experiences abuse multiple times, it's more helpful to look at why the abuser is likely to repeat that behavior more than once. Now, for some reason, many people never stop to consider these elements and instead blame the victim with things like, what were you wearing? What's your body count? Were you flirting? Or how about this one? It's Tana. Who cares?
Seeing so many people not believing me and being like, it's Tana, so who cares?
But what if we look at some science? Because when we're talking about the brain, there's a big difference between the fully formed adult mind and the still developing teenage one. The biggest is the prefrontal cortex, the portion of the brain that guides impulse control, decision-making, and the ability to self-regulate. And I'm sure you've heard it isn't fully formed until age 25. And the psychological effects of SA on teenagers can have concrete consequences. The SA of children occurs during a period in life when complex and hopefully ordered changes are occurring in the child's physical, psychological, and social being. The state of flux leaves the child vulnerable to sustaining damage that will detrimentally affect the normal developmental processes. This impact of abuse is likely to be modified by the developmental stage at which it occurs. It will also vary according to how resilient the child is in terms of their psychological and social development, up to the point that a child who has already had to cope with, for example, a problematic family background or prior emotional abuse, will be more vulnerable to the additional blow of CSA. So does it make you see maybe from a different perspective?
It's much easier to be like, go crucify someone when you feel those emotions.
Of course.
And
I mean, whether or not you feel like that now, and I mean at the time too, even though you felt way more mature than you act, than your age, you were 17, even though you felt grown and everything, and you didn't, at that time, it's you don't really know what you're doing, and you don't really think it's wrong. But again, it's he was 25. He should have fucking known better.
Yeah, and that's I think where I settle on that.
Here, I'll just do one more tiny story time for a little more firsthand perspective. Again, I'm Swoop, this is a Swoop doc, this is what we do. So many of you know that I was targeted and SA'd as a kid by a much older man who was in a powerful position. I was 16 when it started and he was nearly 30. It has taken me years as an adult to begin to understand what happened to me, and the only reason I even began to process is because I started making these docs literally and doing the research into other survivors' stories. And even after all the learnings I've done, I still struggle immensely with, feelings of embarrassment and guilt and shame. And then on top of that, I became consumed by the entertainment industry, and this was so effing normalized. It was like brushing your teeth. We're taught to believe it's just part of the game, baby. You want to make something of yourself, you gotta play the game, look the part, be the age, because you're replaceable if you don't. And so I lived through horrible abuse by many people for many years. And again, surviving abuse makes it far more likely to happen again. And the science shows that what Tana is talking about, potentially having experienced that many people have done bad things to her, is 1,000% a common response. And she's not alone in how she feels, and neither are any of you. And I really, truly hope that you all know that. I'm not gonna say Tana or any of you should ever feel like a victim. If you don't, that is your right. But for those of you who might just be starting to process stuff that happened to you, or you've been struggling to process, please just know, as I always say and will continue to say, it's not your fault. It's just not. It's not your fault. You are valid. You don't have to process or heal or find closure on anyone's schedule or anyone else's timeline but yours. If it takes you minutes to process, you're valid. If it takes you years, you're valid. If it takes you decades, you're valid. If you found healing for a while and then feel like you've lost it and are struggling once again with your trauma, you're valid. And if you feel like you may never be able to process or find healing, that's valid too. But I believe that you will find healing one day. I really do. And I hope that you can try to hold on to that hope, because you deserve it. child, I am exhausted. I think we need a bit of a kitty palate cleanser for this one, and then I will conclude with my final thoughts. Please enjoy this precious clip of the billing department. I love them so much. You can be sure to grab your pieces from the Petty University Valid collection and the Valid rib cage by tapping the link below and in the pinned comment. I designed these pieces for myself and for anyone, any of you who was looking for clothing with positive reminders that you are incredible, brave, worthy, and valid, no matter what you look like, no matter what you've lived through, no matter what the chronic illness or what you do in life. I truly believe you are valid, and I truly believe that you're going to love these pieces as much as I do. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, both linked below. That's where I post most often. I have polls, I check in on life, and post opportunities to be featured in upcoming Swoop docs. And please do keep tagging me with your outfit photos because I love reposting you on my IG stories. Also, I have a brand new second channel called Swoop 2. That's where we dip into the dark waters of the sus pool, where everything and everyone is sus, maybe even us. We dip into all kinds of dark, bizarre, mind-bending stories, true crime, unhinged stories. The videos are much shorter, so yeah, it is a great time. Check that out. And huge thank you again to all of you and to Raycon for sponsoring this doc. And be sure to click the link in the description box below or go to buyraycon.com/swoop to get 20 to 40% off your Raycon purchase, plus free shipping, and treat yourself, honey. You deserve it. Thank you for subscribing here. Thank you for subscribing there. We really do have the most amazing community, and I'm so thankful for each and every single one of you. And thank you again for all the kind words that you shared with me while I was away. I truly just thank you. Thank you. At the end of the day, while this story is complex and the conversation around SA is vast, one thing remains clear. Tana is processing a lot, and she may continue to do so for a long time, and that's okay. No matter what she's been through in life or what she's done, her experience and her story is valid, just like any other victim or survivor. And if she wants to continue to share her story, her potential pain, I hope she's met with understanding. And if she decides, you know what, I'm done talking about this, I hope she's met with understanding. As for Cody, I hope he does the right thing, and he knows exactly what that is. I hope he does right by Tana and also right by his own family, so that maybe Tana can find some healing and perhaps a little closure. Thank you again for your lovely support while I was away. I truly appreciate you all so much, and I'm so happy to be back. So with that, I'll see you next time. Stay ready, stay petty. Class dismissed. Swoop!